You are listening to the SDSU podcast, presented by the East Village Times, with your host, Andre Hagverdian. Welcome, listeners, back to the SDSU podcast. Hope everyone is having a great Tuesday evening. I'm Andre Hagverdian, back with Bryant Thursby and Chris Spiering. What's going on, fellas?
Nothing much. Good day to talk ball.
Yes, sir. Yeah, doing all right.
You know,
Looking
there's a
forward
lot going
to
on the Mesa. You know, football kind of got its roster all straightened out with the transfer portal. They're getting ready for spring camp next month. You've got baseball and softball have kicked off. Bryant covered the softball tournament this past weekend. We'll get into that a little bit later. Women's basketball just clinched a share of the regular season title. A lot going on, but men's basketball always, as deservedly, takes center stage typically around this time of the year. And a lot has happened since I think the last time all three of us got together on this podcast. You know, I'll start with this. 3 games ago, things were looking pretty good for the basketball team. Magoon Guap had just come back, had a dominant game in a blowout against Nevada. I think he had like 13 points, 5 blocks in 14 minutes. 3 game winning streak, first place in the conference. 2 games later, though, it seems like the it's collapsing, and you have all these people asking for a coaching staff to be fired. You have players potentially thinking about next season and not caring, and there's a lot going on right now.
Mhm.
But at that high level, where do you guys sit with what's going on right now with the team?
I'll let you go first, Chris.
Yeah, kind of just going back to what you were just talking about with the Nevada game, right? Everything was looking sky high with Magoon coming back and, LZ, right after that, against Colorado State, but or Grand Canyon even, but, the Grand Canyon loss is tough because obviously 6-1 against the Aztecs all the time, right? Like that,
Yeah.
there's not a single team out there that really has the Aztecs number like that, you know. So besides, I guess you could say UConn, but it's tough because that was a home game, right? One you can't lose the home games, and then they go to Colorado State, right? Where I think a lot of people just wrote that game off. I think everybody was looking at this next one against Utah State, and then the next two on the road against New Mexico and Boise, and thought that that 3 game stretch would be the one that determined the season, right? But no, turns out because SDSU lost to Grand Canyon and Colorado State, everything changes, right? So we go from top of the conference thinking that there'd probably only be 2 to 3 losses, and that could determine who wins between SDSU, Utah State, and I guess New Mexico. They still have a chance, right? Because Utah State and SDSU just lost. So anything can happen. Obviously Utah State just come off a loss to Nevada, right? They just
Yeah,
lost.
they lost to Nevada on the road.
So that that helps the Aztecs out a little bit, gives them still a chance, right? But it's just unfortunate what's going on with the team right now. You kind of just hit it a little bit, Andre, talking about, what the players are thinking at this point in the season, right? We're coming up to the point where in less than a month, the season could be over. And a lot of these athletes have to think about their future, right? But, it's this the new era that we're in with this new NIL and transfer portal. So these are going to be the conversations we're going to have every single year at this point in the season, regardless of how they're doing, right? Because I mean, the Aztecs could be 3 or 4 wins better than they are now, and some of these players would still have these conversations, right? So obviously, things aren't looking too great right now. Obviously, they're at home against Utah State on Wednesday night, so they have the advantage. We need the
Yeah.
crowd there, bring in a lot of energy. Need a loud crowd tomorrow night because man, Utah State brings it when they're at home. That fan base brings it. So San Diego State needs to do the same thing. Yeah, I mean, I could go on for hours talking about this team right now and the position they're in, but I'll let
Yeah, I
Bryant.
mean they still do control their own destiny.
They do. They do.
because they play Utah State and New Mexico, which are the two teams that they're really in the battle
Fighting
for
with.
first place or the regular season title with.
And then Utah State and New Mexico finished the season playing each other in Logan. So yeah, I mean, it could be worse. Obviously, they're on a two-game losing streak. I tried looking it up earlier. I can't remember the last time they lost three straight, but I put in my preview that's going to come out here shortly that yeah, it's been since 2022 that the last time the SDSU was on a verge of a three-game losing streak, not counting the beginning of this season, right? Because they had lost the last two games last year, but not they're not in this position normally. So, lots going to have to change and man, tomorrow night's gonna be hectic. But I'll let Bryant get his words in about the last couple weeks.
These last couple weeks have not been good as a San Diego State basketball fan. Every single fan of San Diego State basketball and us that write and watch the games and everything and analyze it. After the Nevada game, all right, this team's on a high. Magoon's back. Magoon looks healthy. He doesn't have the knee brace. He's moving more agile. He looks quicker. This could get dangerous. This team could be dangerous. Then you go up against Grand Canyon, which we've mentioned the record that Grand Canyon has. Grand Canyon just seems to be the kryptonite, a team that doesn't shoot threes and is bad at shooting them, makes again another nine, not double digits like they did at home um, last month, but still they make nine threes, which is something you don't want to see from a team that shoots less than at 30% and sometimes less than 30% for the majority of the season. And then you go to Colorado State, you know the type of team that Colorado State is. You know they're a three-point shooting team. You know they take 22 plus a game. And yet you still play the same pack line defense with late contest that's not going to work. And it's uninspiring, in all honesty. Going on Twitter and seeing fan group chats and seeing fan chats all over social media, people are calling for not Dutcher's head, but they're calling for massive changes to the assistant coaching staff. Massive changes. And I don't necessarily disagree because when you're facing a team like Colorado State and you do not adjust to the fact that they purely shoot threes and you're not forcing them to be a driving team with the lack of size that they have and the lack of length and the length you do have and you don't adjust to it is frustrating. And the effort by the players over the last couple of weeks, Reese Dixon Waters mentioned it, that they have not practiced well. And there's been rumors circulating that they haven't been practicing well since before the Troy loss, which that's extremely concerning to me about this team.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, some are calling for Dutcher's job too. I mean, not a lot. I've seen it though on social media, so that's out there too.
Yeah.
Um,
Dutcher has the longest leash
yeah.
out of any coach in the Mountain West and honest beside any coach on the West Coast besides Mark Few. Like he has the longest leash, took this program to a Final Four, took them right after the Final Four to another Sweet 16, took them to the tournament last year, had an undefeated team that matched and did better than the 20 I think it was the 2012 Kawhi squad that went like 25 and 0. Like Dutcher has a long leash. Dutcher's not going anywhere. Like
The what if this is the bottom of the Dutcher era and it's on the bubble and about to potentially win a regular season title, like if that's the bottom of San Diego State right now, it's hard to complain.
Hmm.
But I see the flip side of it to say, based on who you have on your roster, the guys you brought back, uh, you should be doing better. And I get that. I don't disagree with that. But if this is the bottom of the Dutcher era, teams, and then last year too wasn't very different than this year. Um,
It's
it could
pretty
be
similar.
much worse, I would say, for a fan base that's up in arms right now. It could be much worse looking around the rest of the country.
yeah, and I feel like we need like the fan base has been saying it for a while. I know we've had talks amongst each other about what we've seen from this team and what they need to do. And everybody saw the numbers that Aztec Analytics put out. The numbers don't lie. 11-man rotation, even a 10-man rotation, is not the move. I get it. This team has depth. We spoke about it earlier in the season during our preseason preview, how insane this team's depth is, and we don't know what Dutcher's going to do. Well, we found out what Dutcher was going to do. Dutcher kept it to an 11-man bench when he had his roster fully healthy. And I feel like there's two players that need to be taken out of the lineup unless two plus players get in extreme foul trouble, and that is Odin and Newman. I feel like those two need to be taken out of the lineup. Odin should not be in the starting lineup tomorrow. If Odin's in the starting lineup, you will probably see maybe a handful of boos at the Ajas Arena because the fan base and the numbers back it up that Odin is not the player, unfortunately, that Dutcher and this coaching staff was hoping for when they got him in the transfer portal. Sean Newman Jr. has been doing good offensively, but he's such a liability defensively. He's almost even.
Yeah.
So at this point, unless there's extreme foul trouble, those two need to be out of the starting lineup and out of the rotation. And that's my opinion on the matter. Might be a little extreme. I know there's other people that have had more extreme opinions on Twitter and on these websites, but that's my opinion on the matter and how I think this team can get hot again because when this team was hot, they were running a 9-man rotation. They added Magoon back in the mix, made it a 10-man rotation. They were still running a little hot versus Nevada. Then they add LZ back, run an 11-man rotation. We see what happened.
Hmm.
Chris, you came out with an article today. You referenced Aztec Analytics, Jacob. Um, Obviously, I think a lot of Aztec fans, at least on Twitter, follow him and know the good stuff that he puts out. You want to kind of talk about what that said and what your article talked about?
Yeah, so you guys were kind of just talking about it earlier, right? A lot of talk going on social media right now. I try not to get into too much of the talk, especially the a lot of the negative talk, right? Because I know it comes with the territory of being a fan, right? A lot of people are going to comment under, reporters' articles or posts or the team's posts on social media, bad mouthing the team, bad mouthing the players. I try to stay away from all that, but it's hard not to see some of it, especially from some of the accounts that have more followers than others. But obviously, yeah, I saw, saw a lot of different things. But just from my own opinion as well, right? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that you can't win consistently in this day and age of college basketball with 11 men. Like, it's not going to happen. I tried to break it down as best as I could in the article. I did use, the Aztec Analytics thread, right, to kind of help, give it a little bit of a visual image, as you could say. But I mean, yeah, the starting lineup is it's this is what it is a little confusing, right, for Dutcher. He doesn't really know what he's going to get when he wakes up in the morning from Magoon, right? He says that, after the win against Nevada that, people are going to be happy that, the team's doing better because Magoon's back, right? And then apparently right after that, heading into the Grand Canyon game, he had a bad week of practice, didn't have like a full practice session one of the days. And it's like that these are the things that are coming that shouldn't be happening late in the season. This is what happened to him last year, right? And not having a consistent, fully 100% Magoon Guath is hurting this team right now. And it's pretty obvious. I think everybody who sees Magoon play can understand how good he is, right?
Mhm.
But his I don't know what it is, his mental, he's not fully invested, it seems, right? When things don't go his way, he's clearly frustrated. A lot of standing around on the bench, not sitting with his teammates. So he's clearly frustrated. And going off that, if he's not going to start, which it just does not seem like he's going to, he hasn't. I don't remember the last time he started. Um, I flat out said that it needs to be Tay Simmons. It needs to be Tay Simmons that needs to be inserted in the starting five because not only is he playing better than Odin right now in literally every single area on the floor, he's a freshman compared to a senior, and you can really benefit playing him more, especially if you're going to keep him in the system for the next year or two, right? He needs these minutes more than Odin does. He's more physical in the paint. He's averaging more rebounds per game. He's averaging more points per game. He's shooting 20% better from the field than Odin is. And while Odin technically is supposed to be the better offensive player, like Bryant said, that's not happening right now. There's no point in putting Odin in for 12 minutes. Like, why force those 12 minutes if he's going to attempt 4 to 5 shots, maybe make one or two of them, which again, you can't fault. He had 5 points early against Colorado State. Like, you don't want to fault him making those buckets, right? But again, you look at it from a different perspective. He attempted 4 shots in the first 5 minutes, just as Miles Bird did. Like, Reese Dixon Waters, or if BJ Davis is going to start, needs to be attempting those shots early in the game. Like, this is a point of an emphasis that we've talked about on this podcast before. A lot of fans talk about it throughout the year. The Aztecs offense starts out very, very slowly. It doesn't help having 4 options on the floor. It actually makes it worse. They need Miles Bird and Reese Dixon Waters to be taking those early uh, shots early in the first half, get into a flow, get into a rhythm. They don't need to score 20 plus points a game, but they need to have close to that. They need to take 12 to 15 good shots, not forcing up shots because they didn't take enough early in the game. Because Odin or, you know, or Miles Heidi or taking a couple shots in the paint, right? It needs to be that star duo of Dixon Waters and Miles Bird. Um, and that's kind of what I was saying. Putting Tay in there, Tay's not going to put up shots unless he's wide open in the paint, right? Or you can lob it up to him for an alley-oop. Odin is going to be taking those threes, and you can see when he starts, he takes a lot of early shots because he knows that's the only time he can get them,
Yeah.
right? He played a minute and a half to start the second half against Colorado State, gets taken out, doesn't come back in. Magoon never came back in. So Tay Simmons played damn near 18 minutes that second half. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it wasn't 18 minutes, but he played 19 that whole game. Anyway, I think Tay Simmons,
He was the only one out of the three that played
yeah,
minutes in the second
yeah.
half.
So anyway, just trying to get back to my point here. I think that Simmons just makes a better case as a starter if you're not going to put Magoon back into the four, right? And then on top of that, you have BJ Davis, who has thrived off the bench, right? He can score 13 points, 14 points off the bench any game. I think he obviously has the experience over Taj and LZ Harrington and not really Sean Newman, but with the team, Sean. But I think if BJ's back on the bench, you either start Taj or LZ, depending on how Dutch feels about LZ. It might be a while until he's back in the starting five. But I think these changes to the starting five are necessary. I think you do need to cut Odin's minutes out completely. I'm not 100% on board with cutting Sean Newman's minutes out completely just yet because he's the best free throw shooting player on the team and because he sees the court so well in transition offense. He can still get you 3 assists and two to four made free throws a game, which, you know, again, if you're gonna relate it to Odin, it's, you don't necessarily want to force those minutes, but I do think because he's a senior, I do think Newman might still get those minutes, but I think you got to completely cut him out for Odin. I don't think there's any way he can continue to play and it's going to benefit the team, right? He's
And I think you can
not
see
playing
that
enough
based
minutes
on
as it is.
how bad of starts they get to in each half.
Yeah, the
You know,
start of
and
the half
you don't
crushed
want to
him.
just say it's all Jeremiah Owen's fault because it's not.
No, it's
We'd be
not.
foolish to say that.
Yeah,
But as a five-man unit, they're not playing as well with him out there uh,
right.
than with somebody else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing with Sean Newman, it's like Sean Newman, his offensive numbers throughout the year actually bodes well for him. His offensive numbers say he's an above average offensive player when he's on the court in any five-man lineup because of just how smart of a basketball player he is on that side of the court. He makes the right passes. He knows when to make a skip pass. He makes great pocket passes. He's really good at throwing the lobs when they're trying to front
Mhm.
some of our bigs of Farrow, Heidi, Tay. He knows how to make that lob pass over and doesn't just chuck it in the air 11 feet in the air and give people time to recover. He knows how to make those passes. He's a smart offensive basketball player.
Mhm.
Everyone knew that when San Diego State got him from Louisiana Tech, that he was a smart offensive basketball player, but his lapses were defense. And not only is he going to a bigger conference, you're facing better competition. with San Diego State going to the players era, and it's been noticeable from game one of the regular season that Sean Newman Jr. is out of his depth on defense. He's not fast enough to beat people to spots. He's not long enough, so that way, even if they try to beat into a spot, he can do a good job getting a contest or getting a bump. He's not strong enough to do that either. It's just he's out of his depth defensively, and that's a problem.
And I think that's what it, and clearly it's what's hurt him this year. I predicted him to be the starting point guard. I think you bring in a point guard who's a senior who was third in the nation in assists per game last year. You would think he'd just be a bona fide automatic starter, but clearly not because his defense has not been close to what Dutcher and his staff thought that they would improve him on. But yeah, I mean, clearly they went with Taj early in the season. I think there's no real reason why they can't go back with Taj and put BJ Davis back on the bench. And if you don't want to, and if Dutcher doesn't want to put Newman in, he doesn't have to put Newman in. But you still got Taj, you still got LZ, you still got Miles Bird, and you still got Reese Dixon Waters, you know. So, it's tough. We have 4 regular season games left. It doesn't seem like Dutcher's actually going to make these changes, you know.
Yeah, I would
But
be shocked if he does.
I'm very good. I'm going to be very shocked that he does, but it's our job to provide analysis and see what the team can what the possibilities are. But
Yeah, I covered one game this year, and that was a Whittier game, right? It was the easiest game to cover,
right
right?
after
If
right after the Baylor loss
um, because I think they won like
or Arizona loss.
100 to 40 or something. Um, But I asked Dutch after the game, like, hey, are you surprised you're still playing 11 guys at this point? And do you plan to reduce that as you get into conference play? And I was thinking he would say, well, I got 11 guys that all deserve to play and they're all playing good and I just don't know who to take out. He said something different. He said, none of them have shown that they deserve more minutes or that they should be playing I can't have them not on the floor. So I'm gonna
Mhm.
keep playing 11 guys until they show me who should be in that shorter rotation. So he kind of flipped it and put it on the players like, hey, they're not doing enough.
Right.
It's a very different way to answer that than I expected. And I'm shocked that he's playing 11 guys still when they're healthy. I mean, some of that injuries helped because they only had 9 guys sometimes. But
Hmm.
I don't think that's gonna honestly, I don't think that's gonna change in 4 games.
Yeah,
Um,
I
That's
don't
why
think it's going to change either.
it's a tough decision.
yeah.
It's a
Tough
tough
decision.
decision, and also like a couple people have brought it up, like as we've said, like the discourse that's been going on social media platforms about this team. It's been crazy, but people have brought it up like do the fans think and do like we as like the writers and like the journalists think that this coaching staff is aware of the numbers of how poorly they are playing with 11-man rotations and 10-man rotations? Like, are they aware of it? And if they're aware of it, is it a bad thing? Like, what's worse, that they're not aware, that they would be unaware of it, or that they are aware of it and aren't fixing it? Like, what would be worse in this situation of them not fixing the problem if they were aware of it?
They're 100% aware of it. I mean, they have more analytics stuff than we do, or anybody does. They have it all. They have access to all of that stuff. Coaches are creatures of habit, and especially guys like Dutcher who's been coaching for 40 plus years, like they always feel like the analytics tell a story, but they don't tell the whole story.
Hmm.
And they're aware of it. There's no doubt in my mind. And I don't think that they're like saying if the analytics are wrong, we're not going to do a damn thing. They're just thinking that they could change it. They could make little tweaks that can help instead of making the big changes by just not playing one particular player or 2 particular players. So, to answer your question, I think they know. Um, I know they know, but what they do about it is part of what's the discussions that they have behind closed doors.
Yeah, and then we go to the stuff that's been coming out about people that may or may not have sources. So you know what happens around this time when teams start struggling, people just start throwing things at the wall, hoping it sticks, saying things. Couple of things are this team's been struggling in practices and haven't really taken practice seriously since the Troy loss. That nobody responds to Miles Bird as a leader, even though Miles Bird, like at least in my opinion, when watching, has been really trying a lot harder over the since this year besides the last couple of years and being a leader and actually like trying to make a difference. And players just aren't responding to him. People said were saying that Jeremiah Odin has been trying to be a leader, but nobody's responding to him either. And there's just a lot of things circulating, and people are starting to wonder if this team and the personalities that this team has a culture problem.
Yeah, I gotta say that they don't know what they're talking about. I'm gonna be honest. There's
I agree 100%.
a lot of discord going on social media about they don't know what they're talking about. I'm There's no way that these fans know what's going on in that locker room. They don't. Miles Bird is an amazing leader, and every single one of those players would die for him. And I could tell you that straight up. There's no way that they're not responding to what Miles Bird is saying. There's zero chance they're not responding to what Reese Dixon Waters is saying. You know, Jeremiah Odin is a senior. He's been on four different programs. You know, at the end of the day, Odin brings a different type of leadership. It may not be on the basketball court. It could be off the court. You know, there's so many things and so many different ways that you can be a leader that it's really hard to just, say, oh, they're not committing to him or they're not listening to him or they're not following his lead. We don't know. No, they're college students. They're student athletes. They're still learning. Everything they do is a
That's the thing. Were they listening to him a week ago when they were on their way to, fourth win in a row and first place in the conference and they had an at-large bid? Like when you lose games, these are the kind of things that pop up.
Yeah, and Odin again, like this is even though I'm in the favor of his minutes being reduced. I mean, Odin still scored a career 1,000 points. Half the players on this team might not even get there ever. So it's it's difficult, right? Obviously, the culture of the team is defense. It's what Brian Dutcher has, you know, I don't even know the right way to say this, but like, if it started with Fisher, right? Dutcher carried it over. Velasquez is, I guess, the defensive guy that's his assistant, right? But even though the defense hasn't been the same this season, they're still playing very, very well compared to the rest of the nation, right? They are still a very good defensive team. They're just not on par with what we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
But I mean, the culture is still there. You still see Miles Bird and Magungwa, coming up with huge defensive plays. That's what they're trying to do is they want to succeed on the defensive end to help them offensively. And we're just not seeing that, you know, from the ways that we have in the past. But
Yeah.
this team is still very close, and I'm not, and I go back to what Tay Simmons said after the loss to Grand Canyon, right? They were saying they don't care about what people are saying about them. They still feel that they're the best team in the conference, and that's the emotion you got to have. They're not just giving up. They're not out here just saying, "Oh, we lost two straight. That's our season." No, they're still saying that they want to make the tournament. That's still their goal. Now, however they get there throughout the season doesn't really matter as long as they get there. And they still have an opportunity to make the tournament. And it's still everything we just talked about it. Everything is right in front of them. They win the next four games, they're probably the one or two seed. They get to the championship game in the conference tournament, and they're an automatic big in. They're in. They just have to, if they beat
Absolutely.
Utah State, they beat New Mexico, and they get to the conference championship game in the tournament, they are in. They don't have to win that game. They are in. Okay? Like it's just that simple. There's no
Absolutely.
way. There's no way they're not putting two Mountain West teams in it. So,
And that's the discourse is like season's over. Like finally they put it down and like put Aztec fans out of their misery. You look at people that are bracketologists, San Diego State's still in people's either last four out or next four out, which means
Yeah.
they're still in it.
yeah.
If San Diego State, Reese Dixon Waters mentioned today that they're going to practice hard. They practiced harder today or yesterday in practice, and they're going to practice harder today in practice than they had the last couple of weeks. That Reese Dixon Waters himself said he felt like they lacked.
Hmm.
They practice harder. Next thing you know, beat Utah State tomorrow at home. Go to New Mexico and Albuquerque, take a win there. That's two quad one wins right there.
Hmm.
Two
Changes
quad one
the game.
wins. And you build
Everything
that to your
changes.
resume. And then you might get help from other people on the bubble because there's a bunch of teams on the bubble in tough conferences
Hmm.
that are going to play tough games and lose some tough games. So San Diego State's still firmly on the bubble. They still firmly have a chance. They just have to show tomorrow and come out and play with a fire and beat Utah State. And then once they beat Utah State tomorrow, all of a sudden, everything's going to be fine. People are going to be like, oh, this team's back. They're going to make the tournament. Like that's how communities' opinions just shift like that. It happens.
And
It's
you gotta
it
respect their
happens.
mindset because that's their mindset right now is that they know they can win. They were predicted to win. They're one of the deepest teams. Obviously, we just talked about how bad the depth has actually been, but in reality, they've got the guys. They've got dudes on that team that can flat out ball. They're just not putting it all together for a full 40 minutes. That's the thing is they got to finish games. They almost did against Utah State on the road in Logan the first time they played. They were very close to playing like almost a full 40-minute game and coming out with that win on the road. And
In one of the toughest environments of
in
the
one of
night.
the toughest environments, and not just in the conference, but in the country, you know?
And sometimes like when Taysom said people just don't know basketball, it's like sometimes shots just don't fall.
Yeah.
Like truly sometimes shots just don't fall. And that's not a problem of talent. It's just sometimes it's just not your day, it's not your night. And that happens sometimes, even if you are a talented scorer. Like how many times have we seen some of the most talented scorers in the NBA right now and in the past just have terrible shooting nights? It just happens.
Hmm. It's a
And fans
short
have to
game
come to
too.
that realization.
It's a short game. They don't have much time to really get into a flow. That's another reason why we talked about these minutes going down for some of these players because the Miles Birds, the Reese Dixon Waters, the BJ Davises, the Taj, the Gorvilles, they need to attempt shots early in the game, get into a consistent flow. They need to find it, get into a rhythm. Like this isn't, just, everyday talk. This is like serious stuff. Like these players this is what they have to do in order to get where they want to go. Like it's no more being passive. No more, oh, we'll get them next time. No, there is no more next time. This is it. Your heels are against the cliff. You have you have no other choice but to go out there and put on your best performance, not just for against Utah State, but for the rest of the season. Like this is like this is the playoffs. Imagine the playoffs start tomorrow night. And if you lose, you're done. Because that's pretty much what it is. They lose to Utah State. They're in a very tough, very difficult spot to make that conference championship game. They need that one seed is massive. The difference between playing a Colorado State or a Fresno State. That's the difference, right? So these players understand what's in front of them. We've heard it all week in the press conferences with Bird and Brees. Like there's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of talk, but these players know what's at stake, and we just have to go out and watch them watch them go to work tomorrow night because yeah, everything's on the line.
What what do you guys make of what Ziegler wrote yesterday about, I mean, insinuating or flat out saying that some of these players are more interested on what their agents are saying and where they're going to be playing next year and how much money they're going to be making versus actually trying to win these games?
I view it in the sense that players are doing what players should be doing in the NIL era. I know that might be a hot take. I know some people might disagree with me, but at the end of the day, not many people that play college basketball make it to the NBA, guys.
Yeah.
Like sometimes these players that are good college players are going to make good NIL money at like a big time school that gives out more money than San Diego State's NIL revenue and program will. And they just need to look at the writing on the wall and say, okay, I need to cash in my check now. Even if I can go play overseas ball, I'm not going to make nearly as much money going to play overseas than I will, like Nick Boyd, for example, going to Wisconsin. Lamont
Yeah.
Butler going to Kentucky, Kashad Johnson going to Arizona. Like these guys that know that they're not going to be NBA players or potentially not be NBA players and make big time money and big time contracts, cash in. And I wouldn't be shocked if all those players Ziegler said in his article that aren't 100% committed, like Tay, Majak, and Latrell Davis, end up leaving, I wouldn't be shocked if majority of them, if not all of them, stayed. Because this is a family atmosphere. Like Chris has said, this team is close. And if this team, everybody wants to run it back amid no Sean Newman Jr., no Jeremiah Odin because they're seniors and they're graduating, wouldn't be shocked at that either. But it's the way that college basketball and college sports works now. And you just have to accept it.
Hmm. Yeah, I talked about it a bit earlier, right? Like these are the conversations that are going to be having regardless of what the record is. And it's going to be
Yeah.
happening every single team at this point in the year because that's just the new era we're in.
But
You
that's
know,
the thing. It's like it gets written when they lose two games.
I thought
But
I
this
thought it
is
was a little
happening. All
early.
the teams, if they would have won those two games, I think those discussions are the exact same. And I think writing it in that time, in that sense, is almost blaming the players
I
for not focusing and not caring about winning. And that's what I thought was a little in.
It could be considered a little bit distasteful, a
Yeah.
little bit at the timing of
Now,
the
I
article.
also like Ziegler is a smart guy, and he's well connected in the program. He has a lot of access.
mhm.
Like, I don't think he would write that if some of it wasn't partly true, or maybe he was being told things from within the program. So I don't think he wrote that out of just pure speculation. I think there's probably things he's been told or heard from good sources. It's just a matter of it comes off as blaming the players for not caring, and that's why they're losing these games. And I don't buy that.
I think the timing was a little interesting for me because yes, it's coming off two straight losses, but again, Utah State lost, Grand Canyon
Yeah,
lost.
And Canyon lost like
So why bring that up now when they clearly still control their own destiny?
they're
They won
still
four
in it.
straight. They can
It's
still win it. I
yeah,
think it was a distraction. I don't necessarily I don't disagree with what he was saying. You know, I don't know. I'm not there. I don't have the access that Ziegler has. He's the
yeah,
only one that gets that access, guys. Like there's nobody out there, not even me, nobody else that gets that access that he
nobody
does.
has the type of sources that Ziegler has within this
He gets
team, within
yeah,
this program.
I was in Spokane when they were playing UAB and Yale, and he was watching practice. I wasn't allowed. You know, he gets that access to have those conversations, you know. So I'm not saying anything that he said was wrong. I don't know. I didn't read the article. I don't read his articles. I'm not subscribed to the UT. Okay. But, you know, at the end of the day, this is just the new era we're in. These players are going to be having these conversations. So, you know, whatever he said in the article, whether he thinks it's true or believes it's true, it doesn't matter because everybody's going to be having these conversations. And we knew they were going to come anyway, you know?
yeah,
I don't know what's going on with Latrell Davis. You know, he's obviously redshirting for the whole year. I don't know why he would leave. What would be the point of him coming to San Diego State to redshirt and then leave? You know, so there's something to look forward to with him, knowing that he's potentially going to stay here next year. Got a great offensive player coming in who just watched a full year, just like Reese Dixon Waters did from the bench, to where he knows what he needs to do, and I think that Latrell Davis could be a great player for the team next year. LZ Harrington, Tay Simmons, the two freshmen. I don't know why on earth you'd ever want them to leave, but again, it's not obviously Dutcher's not going to want them to leave. He's going to do whatever he can to get them to commit and stay, right?
yeah,
I think Tay Simmons is one of the best Aztec fits that Dutcher has ever scouted. I think that Tay Simmons can be a phenomenal 15.8 rebound type player next year easily. Um, who else? BJ. Nobody knows what BJ Davis is going to do. He's been in the program 3 years. He could transfer out. He could stay. Miles Burr is going to aim to go pro. Magoon Guath. I mean, let's be real. I don't think there's a chance in hell Magoo stays as an Aztec next year. I could be totally wrong, but from everything that it seems like with him and the direction that he personally is trying to go to, I don't think that SDSU is the greatest fit for him, especially with the injuries and everything. He just seems too frustrated right now. He's
yeah.
not he's not going pro next year, but I do think, this isn't a hot take, but I do think that Magoon will more than likely test that market again, like as he did last year.
Yeah,
And
I think the two Vegas guys, you didn't mention them, but you were probably getting to
Carson
them.
Farrell
Barrow
Compton.
yeah.
and Taj. Those are wild cards for next year.
So
Hmm.
Taj and Farrell
What
Compton, when they
happened?
came to San Diego State, were a package deal.
Yeah.
And as what I'm what I've been hearing is that they are still a package deal.
Yeah.
Taj DeGorville and Farrell Compton are a package deal regardless. If one transfers, the other is transferring. If the one's not transferring, the other's not transferring. This isn't Elijah Saunders and Miles Bird situation where Elijah Saunders and Miles Bird were best friends and everything, but Saunders still left the program.
Yeah.
Everything that I've been hearing is that Taj and Farrell Compton are still a package deal because those two are best friends, they're brothers, and they want to play basketball with each other because they love playing with each other. And you see it on the court.
And they have great chemistry together. Yeah.
Amazing chemistry. And me personally, I some people have said, Elsie looks so good as a freshman, give him the keys. I said, no, give it to Taj.
Yeah.
Give Taj the keys. He's proven it down the stretch this year that he deserves the keys next year to the offense, along with LZ.
I
He
think,
deserves the keys.
yeah, I think the only person right now that you can be as an automatic shoe-in to stay next year is Miles Heide. I mean, he's not going anywhere. So,
Dutcher's his guy. Dutcher's the one that brought him
uh,
in.
he
Dutcher has
hold,
full faith in
yeah.
him.
Bird's going pro. Dixon Waters is is
Graduating.
eligibility graduating. Odin's gone. Newman's gone. So yeah, I mean the entire starting five is going to look completely different next year, knowing that Magungwa's likely gone, Bird's gone, Dixon Waters is gone.
Yeah, and I think we've
No, we don't
talked
know about
like
BJ, but
that's the thing. They brought in three transfers last year, and we're talking about two of them who shouldn't be getting any minutes, and the third one redshirted.
yeah,
They're gonna have to do much better in the transfer portal for next season with
100%.
Absolutely.
guys that can contribute and because yeah, you're not gonna have the same caliber of players coming back next year where you could have had guys come off the bench as transfers. You're gonna need starters in the portal next year.
Yeah, and my opinion, Dutcher absolutely whiffed on two of them with Newman and Odin. I think he absolutely whiffed with those.
Yeah.
I think Latrell Davis honestly could have played this year. Like watching him last year at San Jose State, how talented of a scorer he was. Not even just against San Diego State, against New Mexico, against Utah State, against these other great programs and other good defensive programs in the conference, he was still scoring at will.
Hmm. But
That's
then,
somebody that you need.
but then again, whose minutes would he have taken? Like you can't play 12 people. There's no way. So it was a tough decision for Latrell coming into the year, but I think he understood knowing there's five guards and he was
Yeah.
not going to get the minutes and there was no point in forcing it when you could redshirt and have two more full seasons after this. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
the
definitely a tough one.
that so I do want to get back to I know we talked a lot about off the court stuff, rotation. Like from a basketball standpoint, other than who's playing and who's not, like what do you guys think they need to do basketball wise to win these last four regular season games, get themselves a chance to get an at large in case they don't win the conference tournament?
I have not said it on my EVT account, but I have been saying it in group chats. I believe that Miles Bird, LZ Harrington, and Taj DeGroville should be running the point guard. BJ Davis and Reese Dixon Waters are your best off-ball players. You need to get them in actions to get them shots. You need to get them pin downs. You need to run some Spain pick and rolls to get them open. You need to run some off ball screens with a roll, like the opening play that they used to run for Kashad Johnson, where they'd set a back pick with one of their guards, and Kashad would roll to the basket for a lob, or the guard peels off to the wing for a three. You need to run these actions for your off ball shooters, these guys that are supposed to be your best scorers. You can't. BJ Davis, we've seen it, has not played the best since he was moved to the point guard position when Elsie Harrington got hurt. And that's because he's been looking to pass. BJ Davis should not be looking to pass. He should be looking to get his. I know we don't like watching selfish basketball players, but when BJ Davis has the ball in his hands, it should be BJ, go get your shot. Go get it. You're one of, if not our best scorer. Go get your shot. That's what it should be. LZ Harrington, Taj DeGroville, and Miles Bird should be running the point and should be running these sets. It should not be BJ Davis or Reese Dixon Waters. They should be off the ball players and in these off ball sets to get open.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't disagree with your overall sentiment. I just don't think the three guys you named who should be playing point guard are good enough at that role. And that's, I think, a big problem on this team is they have a lot of guys that need to be fed instead of be the guy who make the feeds,
And that's why
and
Truman's getting minutes.
that's, I don't want to harp on Nick Boyd because I'm not saying he was that great either but he was much better at picking spots between when to be aggressive, when to run the offense, and when to feed guys. Obviously, in the past, they've had guys like, um, Malachi Flynn obviously was
Markai
there 1 year,
Flynn,
but even Lamont and
or KJ
and
Fane, like
yeah, those guys
Rick
had were
Polium.
better at it. And I don't think that they have a guy on the roster that's a you can say this is our point guard, he's our leader of the offense, run the offense. And I think that's been a big problem overall this year.
I thought it was LJ Arrington, honestly, early in the season. I thought before his leg injury, he was really coming into his own as a point guard, as a general of the floor, and just understanding the offense. And then he got hurt, and that's when you really like saw the offense kind of like go into BJ Davis's hands as a point guard. And I'm not saying BJ Davis can't pass. I'm not saying that. BJ Davis is a good passer, and he's made those good passes that you want, but
It's
it's hard.
hard for a true
It's,
freshman to be that guy.
it's
Coming
hard.
in coming in with such a at least veteran when you're talking about Miles Bird and Heidi and Dixon Waters, it's tough for a true freshman to do that.
Go ahead, Chris. I know you probably got some things that you want to add.
Oh no, not really. But it's just it's not easy to really answer, right?
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, obviously the offense. I think that the strength of the team is the defense, and when they are playing the way that they want on the defensive end, they're getting rebounds, they're avoiding, allowing offensive rebounds, they're pushing in transition. I think that's when they're at their best. But we haven't really seen that lately. We haven't really seen, a full, not like a massive stretch, but a good solid 3 to 4 minutes of insane defense. We saw that kind of at the end of the first half against Grand Canyon. Like I even tweeted out saying I thought that was the best defense I've seen at the end of a half because they were forcing turnovers, they were pushing the offense and scoring quickly. I think that's the way Aztecs teams have thrived in the past, especially late in the season because they wear out their opponents. But we're just not really seeing that. We're not really seeing teams commit stupid turnovers and seeing the Aztecs, run in transition and get quick, fast break points. And I'm just looking at the numbers here against Grand Canyon. There was 8 fast break points when Grand Canyon turned the ball over 13 times. So San Diego State had 6 steals. They blocked 6 shots, but they weren't scoring quick enough. They were being shut down in transition, and that's not Aztec basketball.
Hmm.
That's another reason why I do think Sean Newman continues to get some minutes, even though it may not be a lot, but he's very aware of what's going on in quick situations, right? He may not be great in a half court offense or on the defensive end, but if Miles Bird gets a steal or Magoon Wath or Bird blocks a shot and Newman gets the ball and he's pushing, then I think the Aztecs can, see a lot of success. And I'm not saying that's what needs to happen, but I just think that that style needs to come back. That's what that this team is, you know, done so well off in the past is just dominating on the defensive end and then just playing with pace and just wearing out their opponents. And that's why Dutcher likes to rotate his guys a lot because he wants his players to have fresh legs every time they're on the court, And that's another reason why Magoon has struggled to stay on the court for more than 3 to 4 minutes at a time because his stamina is not there. He's not able to do what Dutcher wants him to do, and that's push the pace, you know? So I think that it's very obvious that the offense needs to figure it out early in the half, in first half and the second half. They need to create better shots for Dixon Waters and Miles Bird. I think Miles Bird needs to do a better job of attacking the basket early in the half. Get these guys that are defending him in foul trouble, right? I think it's very important. If I thought this team was not a great free throw shooting team a couple weeks ago, they've certainly improved. at the free throw line. I think the more that they're getting to the line and getting in the bonus with 7, 8 minutes left in the half. Like that's what you want to see is you want to see them shooting free throws for the second half, the last 10 minutes of the second half, the last 10 minutes of the first half. Um, just being aggressive, like knowing that, you guys have the players, you have the talent to do what you've been trying to do all season. You just got to go out and do it. And that you got to stop, they got to stop, playing slow or not being, confident in what they're doing. Taj DeGorville had a long stretch of not playing confident basketball, and that's changed. Now look at the way Taj is playing right now. He's making every single pass, he's hitting shots because he's playing confident, and that's what you want to see from these guys. Um, there's so many different things. Basketball is a very short game. There's only 40 minutes. Like I said, it's not like the NBA where you're having Luka Doncic play the whole 12 minutes of the first quarter. Like that just doesn't happen very often in college. So for Miles Bird and Dixon Waters, they're not going to be playing. They're going to be playing 32 plus minutes, but they're not going to be playing, 10, 20 straight minutes to really get into that flow that they want to get in. And so I just think that early in each half, if those two are in rhythm, then I think the team is going to be better off because they got to rely on those two because I mean the season's depending on it.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. The season's fully depending on your two leaders that
Yeah,
have been in the program longer than anybody else besides Miles Heidi. Like Ed, Miles Bird, Reese Dixon Waters, everybody in the public, including us, and during our preview podcast, said you were the two best players on the team besides maybe Magoon Gwath. You have 4 games plus the conference tournament to show it.
they got to go out and
Show
do it.
us.
Yeah, like I said, it doesn't need to be 20 plus points each, but they need to showcase in each half that they are aggressive and they are trying to do whatever they can to win the game. You see it with Dixon Waters, you see it with Bird, but not at the same time. That's what needs to happen. They need to do it together. They need to have 5, 6 minute stretches where they're both scoring and they're dominating on both ends of the floor. We need to see it because you know they're running out of time.
Yeah.
It's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, any, I mean, we've talked about a lot, but any additional things you guys want to mention about basketball as we head into these last 4 games?
Buckle in,
Lock in.
SDSU win.
That's
Yeah,
that's all I gotta say. Lock in. Show us why many people picked you to be the #1 team in the conference and make the tournament and be a Sweet 16 contender. Lock in and show us.
hmm
Yeah. Um, Bryant, I know you covered the softball tournament over the weekend. You want to give us a little bit of a recap of what you saw?
I'll give a little bit of a recap on the season because I've been covering the softball team all season, and team's doing good. Team's doing good. The team is 10-5. Coach Stacy Newman Denise at the helm. She's been on the Mesa as a head coach. I believe this is going to be her 5th year now. Um, Got some injuries, unfortunately. One of the players from last year's roster, Shannon Cunningham, one of the key pieces. She hit 8 home runs last year, and she was a big extra base hitter for the team. She's out. She broke a bone in her hand. Should be back end of March, beginning of April, probably around mid conference play. More than likely, I would say either at New Mexico or against UNLV is when I would say she would be back based on the injury that she has. Um, Team's been performing well. Kiana Pua, Ava Shaful, Candace Tarley, Faith Jordan, pitchers to name that have been in the circle for them that have been doing really well. Jed Ignacio is batting like 456 on the year and is just tearing covers off of softballs. She's been playing extremely well. Like a couple people that are fans of the softball team that actually pay attention have been talking to me and everything. It's like Jade Ignacio she's not doing the level of what Tank Barbara was doing when she was here, but she's getting there, batting 456. But this team's good. This team deserves fan support. That's why volunteered last year to cover the team. It's why I enjoy covering the team. I don't do it because I have to. I do it because I want to. Because this team's just fun to watch. They make it fun to watch. They play fun. They play out of their minds. Like they absolutely love the sport of softball. They're close as a team, as I've talked to Coach Curly Grimes, Coach Stacy Newman Denise. And if you like thrilling endings, they've had six walk-offs
Wow.
on the year.
Out of 10 wins?
Out of 10 wins, they've had, I believe, six walk-offs on the year.
Hmm.
Eight total walk-offs if you include run rule walk-offs. And I joked with Coach Newman Denise about it last weekend before this weekend, because at that point last weekend, they had five walk-offs. And I was like, so do your players just enjoy giving you high blood pressure and a high heart rate or what? And it's fun softball. It's some softball to be a part of. So if you guys want to know more, pay attention to my articles. I'm going to release a preview tomorrow, hopefully, either tomorrow or Thursday morning, about their weekend coming up at San Diego for the Torero Classic. So if you live in San Diego and you want to watch some softball and support San Diego State softball, come out. It's a fun team to watch, and they deserve every single fan support that they can get right now.
Yeah, definitely having we had Nuvi on the podcast a couple of times and she's definitely been one of my favorite interviews. So she's fun to talk to and the team has been fun to watch these last couple of years, making it into the postseason. And I think 2 years ago they were in the Super Regionals.
Super regional at Utah a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Um, they competed well against Utah, ended up losing it, but they made it to super regionals, made
Yeah.
to regionals last year at UCLA. And I mean, this team can do it again this year. I'm not saying that they're going to be able to host a regional, but they could go on an insane run where that could be a possibility. And they might not even be the best team in the Mountain West. Grand Canyon 17 and out. They haven't lost yet.
Wow.
That a thorn in the side of San Diego State athletics.
Yeah, I
Grand
know. What's
Canyon.
up with these nonprofits, man?
The Grand
Yeah.
Canyon has the most NIL in the basketball conference, without a doubt, because
Oh,
they don't have football, so they can recruit some
I,
And they're
solid
I,
talent.
I
private.
saw I saw the rich donors when I was down in Phoenix. I know what they're doing at that nonprofit school.
For the Torero Classic, the field that's down at the bottom, because I'm a USD alum, is every single game going to be played on that back field there, right next to like the Manchester football practice field. So it's just one
Yeah.
game at a time. Mm,
One game at a time. They start early in the morning. The teams that are going to be there are going to be San Diego State, San Diego, Kansas City, Cal State Northridge, and Washington.
okay.
I might be missing a team, but I believe those are the five teams that are there. And basically, what happens is like it's kind of like a not really a round robin tournament, but they do standings and stuff like that. And like there's a winner of the tournament, but it's not doesn't really go like against you or in any way, like in your resume and stuff like that. But they start games at like 10 o'clock in the morning, end games at like 10 o'clock at night, like a full 12-hour thing. And they were doing that at that San Diego State softball stadium like a couple weeks ago. San Diego State played six games. They went 5-1 in those six games between Oregon State, Fordham, Baylor, North Dakota, a bunch of teams that were there. So it's these like
Exciting.
weekends
Yeah,
happen around the country.
yeah, that's pretty exciting. Yeah, hopefully they continue to keep winning.
Yeah, I would say they're in a good spot. My prediction for this week, before I let my preview, I'll kind of spoil that. My prediction for this week is that they go 4-1. That they beat San Diego, beat Northridge, beat Kansas City, and split with Washington because I think this team has the talent. I think this team has the offense, and I think this team has the quality of pitching when they play up to their potential to do it.
Nice. Kansas City, is that the name of the school?
Yeah, Kansas City.
Hmm.
Kansas City. And if you want to see the best defensive player I've ever seen touch a diamond, softball or baseball, come watch Quinn Wyke. And that is high praise for me because she honestly might be the best defensive infielder, maybe the best defensive player I have witnessed between baseball and softball. She's insane.
Wow.
So Kansas City's in the Summit League, it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's I don't know who else is in that conference.
Omaha is one of them that's in the conference. Omaha's a pretty good team. They're ranked number two by D1 softball, I believe, in mid-major programs. Uh,
Okay,
being
interesting.
ranked. San Diego State currently, I believe, is ranked five. GCU is ranked one. Nevada six. Like Boise State ranks seventh. Like the Mountain West is loaded at the top with talent between Grand Canyon, San Diego State, Boise State, and Nevada. Absolutely loaded at the top.
Well, when does the conference season start? I know it's early, but when?
Conference season starts mid-March. They play CBU on March 11th, and then conference play starts, I believe, March 12th or March 13th against Colorado State, about the same week that the Mountain West basketball tournament starts.
Okay. Yeah, lots to look forward to for
Yeah.
Aztecs fans, right? Because you got the women's team balling out. Baseball season starting right now.
Baseball was playing UCLA, and they were up 4-1. It is currently 4-3 San Diego State, and UCLA is the number one ranked team in the country.
Well, they have the top number one prospect, right?
Correct.
He's supposed to. Well, I don't know if he will be.
Supposed to come out of the draft and be a top five draft pick.
Yeah, I think the last mock I saw was he was the top pick. So,
Yeah, and San Diego State's playing the number
oh,
one team
good
in
for
the country
them.
right now at
Good for them.
UCLA, and it's 4-3 going into the ninth.
Good for him.
So there's a lot of fun on the Mesa right now between men's basketball, women's basketball, baseball, basketball,
Hmm.
or softball. I mean, tennis. Like there's San Diego State's got programs on the Mesa that are competing.
A little over a month away, right, Andre? And then that first spring practice is coming for football, right?
Yeah, a
No,
month away.
first week of April. I think that's what Kirk told me. Like,
Yeah, I think it's towards the end of March. Might
is
be
it
the
at the end of
last,
March?
right before spring break.
Okay.
I think they get a weekend right before spring break, and then they finish out the other 4 weeks.
So a little bit later than last year.
Yeah, it's definitely later. Yeah,
I went to that first spring practice last year.
yeah,
Interesting.
Exciting times on the Mesa right now.
yeah. That first practice is really the only practice they allow you to be there
Hmm.
the whole time, which is
Right.
unfortunate. But yeah, that's a good one to go to because that's the only time you get to see until the spring game.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, maybe that'll change this year. Who knows? But I doubt it. But
Yeah.
well, thanks for the recap there, Bryant. If for those softball fans out there, make sure you're following him at EVT Bryant, right?
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Any parting words before we close this out?
No, just Aztecs fans need to bring it tomorrow night. I know they won't probably see this until after the game, or I don't know what time this will go up, but man, just you've seen what Utah State fans do in Logan. Aztec fans needs to
Yeah.
do the exact same thing tomorrow night because this game is going to come down to the wire, and they need as much momentum as they can get.
I will be
Fans
in
need to be
attendance.
loud the entire game.
Yep. All right. Thanks, guys, for listening. We appreciate you guys as always. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow on all your favorite platforms, and we'll talk to you guys next time. You are listening to the SDSU podcast, presented by the East Village Times, with your host, Andre Hagperdian.